Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to TrepTalks. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Diana Hall to the show. Diana is the founder of ActivArmor. ActivArmor makes 3D printed casts and splints out of waterproof plastic that is custom designed for each patient's unique healing needs and lifestyle. And today I'm going to ask Diana a few questions about her entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategy and the tactic that she has used to start and grow her business. So thank you so much for joining me today at TrepTalks, Diana. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
So maybe first of all, maybe I should not. Do you call your endeavor a business? Because I think I read that this is actually a non-profit, right?
No, it's a business. It's a business. Yeah.
Okay, and I know you were wearing one of these casts in your hand, so maybe that's where we need to start. Can you share a little bit about your product and how and what is the value proposition? How are they helping people?
Absolutely. So I'm a chemical engineer, and I started this company because I was working in a mentoring program for children in poverty. And they would often have casts and splints that were required because they'd have domestic violence or substandard living conditions, or they'd just have a broken arm just from being a kid. Regardless, when they would go to the doctor, they would get a fiberglass cast on, which is the standard of care right now. And the doctor would tell them, don't get this wet or dirty for 8 weeks. That is unreasonable when you can't even practice basic hygiene like washing your hands. People should be able to shower and practice basic sanitizing, like sanitize their hands, especially during a pandemic, but even without a pandemic, to not be able to wash your hands, even to have a snack for 8 weeks, is not okay. And so the point of the company is to provide a sanitizable, washable, breathable, waterproof alternative for immobilization, both for fracture care as well as for chronic conditions like carpal tunnel. And every single cast has to be custom. It has to be custom fitted uniquely to that patient's body map, which there is no one size fits all. There isn't small, medium, and large. Everybody has unique native anatomy that must be fitted to the millimeter in order for it to fit perfectly and immobilize well. So it has to be custom fitted, and then it also has to be custom designed. If you have a fracture and you're playing football and you have impact and you need real strong protection, you can have that. If you have carpal tunnel and you're elderly and you're knitting, you're going to need something thin, lightweight, breathable, and removable for that. If you need a bone stimulator, muscle stim, TENS units, bio monitors, whatever advanced healing technologies that you need to use, it needs to be custom. If you have an incision that you need offset, if you need it to go high or low on your hand or wrist, or all the way up your fingers, or on your full arm with an elbow, whatever, or your foot, whatever you need, it must be custom for that patient's unique body map and for their injury and condition and for their lifestyle. So that's how we do it.
Okay. And in terms of, how a patient would come to use this, so let's say somebody fell, while playing soccer or something, and, they hurt their hand. Of course, for it to be custom created, I'm assuming that there is some sort of a, time lag in between. So the kid would go to the hospital, get the more, the traditional cast, and then their healthcare provider would kind of educate them, that we have this other thing. And so can you explain a little bit, how would someone actually use it when they're hurt, and there is a certain custom component to it also?
So what happens now when you get a fracture is you're going to go to the emergency room or the urgent care, and you're going to get a temp splint or a trauma splint. It's kind of like a half cast, and it's usually wrapped with some sort of wrap, and then you go home and you wait for the swelling to go down, because in that initial phase you're normally going to have a lot of edema, so you're going to have an ace bandage or something on a temp splint. And then you're normally going to have in a couple of days to a week or so, when that swelling goes down, you're going to go to the orthopedic surgeon, and they're going to put you in a more traditional cast. Because if you put them in a cast immediately when they're swelling, it's going to get too loose, and then it could displace, or they'll have to recast it in a week anyway. So that's kind of the normal procedure. With ActivArmor, when you would get that traditional cast, once the initial edema phase has gone down, we have trauma splints that you can use. So one of the problems with trauma splints in the emergency room and urgent cares is that patient compliance is an issue, because you have swelling, it goes down and the wrap gets loose, and the wrap isn't waterproof, and it's not sanitizable and sterilizable. People are taking it off, or it's getting too loose and their fracture is displacing or whatever. And the reason it smells bad and it gets soggy and all of those things. So we have also made trauma splints that are inventory product. They can be used in emergent care and in emergency rooms that are heat moldable. And then you just ratchet these straps down. So it makes them custom fitted, as well as providing you the hygiene, but also allowing you to improve patient compliance by locking them into it while still being adjustable for swelling. So we do have trauma splints during that first edema phase as well. But then once you are ready to get your more long-term cast on, you can do a scan with our free iPhone app. And so this app allows you to scan any body part with your iPhone, and then you can draw with a washable marker directly on the patient where you want the cut lines to be. So if they need fingers immobilized, or thumb or toes, or if they want an offset or incision or whatever, you scan the patient, and then the custom device, you can either print it on site right there. This is a 2.5-hour print, so it comes out pretty quick. And the clinics and hospitals that you go to, you can find a list on our website. Some of them have printers right there on site where they're manufacturing, just like St. Luke's Hospital in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Mayo Clinic and Rochester Sports Medicine Clinic also has one. So if you go to some of our providers that have the on-site printing, you can get them very fast. If some of the clinics don't want to have a printer on site, or they don't, and so they'll order from us, and then we will deliver the device in 4 business days or less, fully finished product directly to the patient. So they're going to be in that trauma splint for another couple of hours to couple of days, depending on the clinic that they go to and how their provider offers ActivArmor.
I mean, I can tell you this definitely looks much cooler, something out of like a sci-fi movie. And it's breathable. That's a great thing. Of course, seems like in terms of fit, there's a better fit there as well. So how come is it really about you're trying to educate the medical facilities, to use this thing, or is there like a cost component that's kind of a barrier for its kind of widespread adoption?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a barrier. It is a little bit different because this is durable medical equipment. So you're billing a code, a splinting code, instead of a procedure for applying a cast. So with doctors and hospitals, they have much better margins on this because this reimburses so much better to have custom splints, and it improves their clinical flow process, right? Because they're just doing a scan instead of wrapping you with some material, wetting it, putting it on you and waiting 20 minutes till it dries, and then you saw it off and reapply it at every exam and x-ray. So and these are recyclable too. So it saves on medical waste, it saves on time and labor in the clinics, and it improves their billing margins. For the patient, they're paying, it's covered by their insurance. So, and in some cases though, like for me, I have a high deductible plan, so I'm going to be paying cash out of pocket. So it's a little bit different because I'll be paying a little bit more upfront for this cast, but I won't be paying at every exam and x-ray for a new casting procedure. So I end up saving money over the course of my healing, even though it's a little bit more for the DME upfront, even if it's cash pay, right? But ideally, it's through Medicaid or Medicare or private insurance, and DME is covered for a custom splint, and you're good to go either way.
What was the eureka moment for you? I mean, you said you were a chemical engineer, and of course, now 3D printing is becoming more and more prevalent in the industry. Was there something around the design component as well? Can you share a little bit about what things had to come together in order for this kind of prosthetic device to actually exist, and what does the future hold? I mean, I'm assuming as 3D printing and technology becomes more and more kind of mainstream, this kind of thing will become more available to people.
Yes, and I would say that we've evolved as a company, less on the manufacturing side and more on the software design side. So our intellectual property is on how do you make sure that the cast and the scan process and the fitting process and the design process is standardized enough to allow any provider anywhere to do it without needing engineers on site and without having to know a lot about 3D printing. But how can we make it scalable in doctors' offices? And right now, even at a 2.5 hour, that's still too long, right? It would be really nice to have like Star Trek, where you press it, it looks like a microwave and it pops out in 10 seconds. That's the way it will happen as 3D printing evolves. So we as a company, our manufacturing process is agnostic of whatever printing process you use. So whatever existing printers you have, you can use those. And as the technology changes and 3D printers get better and faster and easier, our design services will work for any printing technology. So that's what makes us very industry standardized, right? Because any scanning process, any printing process that you want to use is fine. Our design software will work for all of them.
Okay, so basically what you're selling is not these devices themselves, but you're selling the software.
Yeah, we will sell the devices themselves through our third-party manufacturers. So as long as you get the design file, you can order them from a 3D printing partner that's registered with the FDA to make medical devices, or you can fabricate them on site.
Okay, and I had recently actually interviewed another entrepreneur who was working with 3D printers, and I think their motivation was to make the designs, I believe, the designs were open source, and I believe their business model or their model of adding value was to print, I think they were printing like limbs, artificial limbs, and sending it to like third world countries or people where cannot afford those limbs. So your IP is your software. Do you have any philanthropic aims with your company where you can make this your design or a certain light version of your design or something to other countries where they don't have these kind of capabilities? Or
so we already are in 11 other countries. And in those countries, they are able to source their own labor, their own materials, their own 3D printing technologies, whatever. We provide the lowest cost design services to them. And that way they can fabricate on site for pennies on the dollar and make them affordable to their patient population there. So that is the way that we are able to help. The design services themselves, you have to be very careful with medical devices because there is a quality standards protocol that you want to make sure that people are compliant with when they're manufacturing these. So it's the more open source you get, the more liability comes into play, because anytime anybody is doing their own design and their own manufacturing, you want to be very careful that they're doing it in a proper way for treatment for the patient. So here in the US, we are listed with the FDA. All of our manufacturers are registered, and we have quality control standards that we make sure that we take care of. Internationally, the designs have been tested and proven for quality treatment of patients, and we want to make sure that that quality system is in place while still making it as affordable as possible.
In terms of your business model, well, before I go into business model, you started out, I believe, a few years ago with this business. When you started out, are you the only founder? And did you have to make some personal investment to get this business started?
Yep.
And if yes, was that your own personal money, or did you have to raise funds?
Yes, both. So I am the only founder, and that is by choice over time. And it's funny because as you start, 2014 was a long time ago, and we've hit a lot of things like the pandemic and, economic downturns and things like that. So it's been a very, we've had to pivot quite a bit and adapt and adopt. I did invest my entire life savings into this company. So all of my 401k, everything, every penny is invested into this company. Plus I have investors that are angel investors and individuals. We have done a crowdfunding raise. So, but also we have individual angel investors. Most of them are physicians. So that believe in the product and the company and really wanted to have skin in the game in making it successful. And so the company has been run on individuals like myself that believe in it and want a better alternative. That said, we will probably take institutional investment or strategic partnership here shortly, because that's the goal of scaling the company, right? Is to work with a big company that can help us scale faster and that we can collaborate with to improve the healing outcomes on our product by integrating a bone stimulator, for example, muscle stim, bio units, biomonitors, TENS units for pain management to reduce opioid use, for wound care products, and nerve stimulators, et cetera, for patients with diabetes, for example. So yeah, there definitely will be strategic partnership going forward and further investment as we grow. We do have a seed round open right now for accredited investors. So people can purchase common stock in our company right now. That won't be around for long. So we're kind of at the end stages of that. So, but yeah, that opportunity isn't available. And that's how we've grown. That's how we've gotten this far financially. So we've done over 2 million in investment right now, including grants and awards, which are great, right? Because you don't dilute for those. And that really means that the market is buying into, not only the market, but the economic development corporations, et cetera, are buying into the opportunity of this technology moving forward and becoming the standard of care.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like the market for this, I mean, there's a significant or substantial market for this, and it's not like a one-time market. It's like people are going to hurt themselves every year, and so there's like an ongoing use for this. In terms of risk, the entrepreneur always takes the risk. And when you started out, if you invested all of your money into this, what was the thought process in your mind? Had you done some sort of a validation before kind of putting all your money in, or you were like, because I believe so strongly in this and the potential of this technology, that you did not hesitate at all? Because I mean, if you're investing all of your saving, that is a pretty big
well, savings decision. Is one thing, but 8 years of your life is another, and especially when you give up a 6-figure income to live under the poverty line voluntarily for years while you start a business. It's a big investment, and I would say that I wouldn't have done it if it was surely for financial reasons, but it's also a mission. I believe that it improves the quality of life for people, and my definition of success of the company is that it can grow and scale and we can help more people. But in general, every single day I'm successful because I get to help people, even if it's a handful of people a day, that makes it worthwhile. And so that's what gets you up and, every single morning and still working hard and taking that risk. Not only that risk, but that sacrifice, right? Making that sacrifice. And it absolutely is. And it's totally worth it. And I know that it will be successful. I feel that. I can tell by when when I introduce it to investors and when I introduce it to market experts, you want them to validate what you have. And I have a team of advisors that are in medical space, so medical devices, orthopedics, sports medicine, intellectual property, contracting, all of those things. And all of them provide me continuous feedback and input, which is why I can be the only founder and still get where I am as a chemical engineer. I obviously don't know everything about healthcare, about insurance reimbursements, about the regulatory environment, and about running a startup. So I need that expertise, especially in the medical space. I need that advice and input and expertise every single day. You can't do it by yourself. So my advisory board is amazing. Some of them are investors in the company, and the others just give sweat equity to help with their expertise. And that's what's making this whole company work and be viable, is that I have that. If I didn't have that, there's no way we'd be where we were.
What kind of I'm so curious, because a product like this, which is very new, it's medical industry. What kind of, when you were just starting out, what kind of research, what kind of business plan did you kind of envision? Like, did you already have a business model in mind? Did you start out with, I'm going to sell these costs themselves versus selling the software? Like, had you thought everything through, or like, did some of that come, as you worked through the process?
It's funny, it started out when I was running that mentoring program for children in poverty. I started making some out of ABS plastic, so the Legos plastic that was sanitizable and all that. I started making it for the kids who needed it. And then their doctors would ask me, can you make some more of these? That's how it started. And then for me to say, I don't know if I can, and then to go find out and go to the FDA and say, what do I need to do? Like, to work directly with the research lead for the FDA on wearable medical devices, which is Dr. Lex Schultheis at the University of Maryland's Robert Fischel Medical Device Institute. So to work directly with them, publish research abstracts in collaboration with them to make sure that this product, that's a new product, is brought to market correctly, and to work directly with the orthopedic surgeons to establish the correct design so that it will work for the healing outcomes, and then to do field tests and to make sure that the design's iterated and changed over time to make sure it's better and better, and to constantly be adding new data, new input from physicians, and new treatment plans and new technologies and everything like that every single day. So we did start out fabricating these in-house to make sure that the quality control standards were accurate and that everything was working. Then we slowly evolved into becoming a software company and outsourcing the manufacturing, and then ideally, which is where we're at now, putting it in the clinic's hands, where they're able to fabricate on site in a reasonable amount of time with at less cost, right? Because they're going to have it right there for the patient, cheaper and faster, which is the goal of especially for fracture care, right? Where you need something immediately. So yeah, it's definitely evolved. I knew it was going to go to the point of care. I just wasn't sure. I didn't think it was going to take this long, but in medical devices, it's just, and with COVID happening and all that, it was a weird time for us where we had to scramble and bootstrap it quite a few times. And now we're at the point where we can scale, and it's a really great place to be because I didn't know when we would hit or how, and every single time new information would come at us or the environment would change, we would pivot, and not really pivot away from what we were doing, but we would track with how we had, like when COVID hit, that's when we brought out our new iPhone app because before we had $10,000 scanners that had to be placed in a hospital to get accurate scans or whatever. And we started working on our iPhone app so that anyone anywhere could in their pocket have a scanner that would work accurately, and what is the the process to get a good scan and make sure that it works every single time for quality control, et cetera. So all of that stuff was developed through the School of Hard Knocks and through learning and changing and growing the company. And that's part of what keeps us our competitive advantage. Every time something hits us, like, oh my gosh, this is a barrier, or this is a barrier, whatever. It's also a barrier to competitors, but it's also a way for us to overcome these hurdles and to stay ahead of the game and make sure that we are the first to market with this innovative technology.
I definitely want to ask about competition. But before that, I'm very curious. So you mentioned these items are built of, plastic, I think you said ABS plastic. I don't know what exactly that means, but, once somebody is healed, of course, I'm assuming, these are disassembled and then, it's just plastic.
You just pop it in your recycle bin with your plastic.
Okay. And then what happens after that? So is it kind of contributing to adding more plastic to the world, or are you looking into like some more sustainable materials that can be used for this kind of product as well?
It's the same thing that makes all of our water bottle caps and everything else. So it's very easily recyclable. Just pop it in your plastic bin. It will get made into other products. It's as sustainable as you can get. Traditional casts, they have to saw them off for every exam and x-ray and throw them in medical waste bin. All of that's eliminated. These are reusable, adjustable, and recyclable. So yeah, sustainability is definitely a key aspect of the product.
Okay. Yeah, so I want to go back to the competition. Are there other companies that are kind of coming up with similar kind of products?
So there are some internationally that are dabbling in this custom splinting space that's 3D printed. Here in the US, we're definitely the forerunner. And again, we're in 11 countries. We focus on fracture care. So casting, which is different. You want to be able to make sure that you can make it protective for a fracture, not just thin, lightweight, breathable, and spider webby, which may be what a patient would want, but not what a doctor is going to prescribe for fracture care. So our designs are based on 8 years and thousands of patients with hundreds of referring providers here in the US. So we are definitely the front runners in this space. We also have offloading walking boots for Charcot foot, diabetic foot, which is, a very big market that is ripe for penetration and for changing how we do total contact casts. And then the ability to add, TENS units, vital monitors, things like that. So the customization is so key. And so there are some competitors, but none of them with traction in the US, none of them with a commercially available delivery system where you can fabricate on site and use an easy interface for providers to be able to do the custom design themselves. There are some that are small, medium, and larger. They're just scaled down or up to your arm, but they're standardized designs. We don't believe that that's the future. We think it needs to be protective. It needs to be, we asked our customers specifically what they want. We made it for them, and our customers are the doctors, the prescribing doctors, right? So I think that's where some of the potential competitors have lost out, is they were thinking about what the technology can do, not about the user and what they want and what they want to see and how they want to use it and how it could be adaptable. So I think there are some that are trying to get into this space in kind of higher end sports medicine and things like that, but we are focused on becoming the standard of care for fracture care. And you are right, we're talking about, a $20+ billion industry every year. The average person has 2 breaks in their lifetime. And so that's a lot of people. And then, there's millions of carpal tunnel patients and diabetics needing offloading walking boots and everything every single year. So it's a big market. And we, with our strategic partnerships with bone stimulators and things like that, we want to improve the quality of care for patients and just change the way doctors have done the same fracture care for hundreds of years.
In terms of the sales cycle, do you have to have your own team to go out and do kind of like these presentations directly with the providers, or are there some sort of in the medical industry, I'm not sure, are there like middlemen or distributors that you work with that have already access to large number of clinicians who can make that introduction or make that presentation for you and get that adoption quickly and easily?
So we publish research studies in the trade journals, and we advertise at the main medical conferences. So like American Association of Orthopedic Surgeons annual conference, National Athletic Trainers Association, things like that. So those big conferences, we have a presence there and we show the product. That's kind of how they find their new product lines. We also market very much on LinkedIn, just letting people know that it's available. We do use 1099 contracted sales reps, as well as we do have an internal sales team, W-2 as well. So and then the goal is strategic partnership, but we also have a GPO, which is it's a group that's a group purchasing organization for medical devices. So you can go into big GPOs like that, and then they help get it to their providers, their members, right? So their clinics and hospitals. And then again, we also are looking for strategic partnership with other companies that may do bone stimulators, or maybe in the splinting space, trauma care, whatever, and they can then we can partner with them for distribution, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel by growing our own sales force one-offs, like, oh, now we're in this state, now we're in this state, which is what we've been doing, right? But the 1099 folks, they're in orthopedics and in wound care, and they can take this and add this as another product in their portfolio and take them into their connections and their providers and introduce it.
Is it always an easy sell, or do you kind of sometimes get any kind of pushback from healthcare providers? Or some sort of a feedback saying, this maybe this should be like, different or something like that. Is it a straightforward sell?
Yeah, they all get it the second you walk in the door. I mean, it's easy to understand, it's easy to see, it's easy to say like, oh, this is a benefit to the patients, this is better. Obviously there's it's a little bit of different billing, because you're billing for durable medical equipment instead of a procedure, so that takes a little bit. And then it's the keep in mind that they've been doing it the same way for hundreds of years. Like you're going to get some material out of your drawer and wet it and wrap it on and they're going to walk out the door and they're going to saw it off and reapply, right? That's how they've always done it. So there's also a lot of a culture change in saying, like, who is our target market to entry point? We want the innovators, the doctors who are like, yeah, I mean, I'm open to trying a new technology. I can use a smartphone and do a scan and, start a 3D printer. And then I'm open to, and my staff is open to introducing a new technology because it's better for our patients. And you have to really find those folks. So there are over 400 hospitals and clinics here in the US that already have 3D printing labs on site, that are already doing 3D printing in medical modeling. And so it's an easy product to integrate with your current system. Just say, hey, now do you want to provide the latest in orthopedic care as well with a billable product with your existing equipment, right? So those are our target market entry points. And the doctors who are already using advanced healing technologies like bone stim, muscle stim, those kind of doctors, those are the ones who are adopting it. Those hospital systems and those physicians are the ones who are going to be the first to market in this space. And then eventually it will propagate down into it becoming a standard of care, but it does definitely take strategic targeting for that market entry point.
Definitely. So as the CEO, I'm assuming you're the CEO of the company. So it seems like you have a good product market fit. You have your teams, you have your sales machine set up. I think you're building strategic partnerships and so forth. Where do you kind of spend most of your time right now? What is your kind of main focus? Is it really about building the partnerships, because that's kind of the biggest way you can scale your business?
Yes, definitely sales and on strategic planning, strategic partnership, definitely. It's the R&D process is very much established, and it's just in the end phases of that. So it takes less of my time now because the design automation has happened, the software, the user interface, we're doing some more tweaks too to make sure that that's scalable and easy for everyone to use. But in general, we've got the product that works and the system that works. And so now we're really looking at scaling sales and strategic partnerships.
Okay. So you don't really consider yourself an e-commerce, because you're primarily a software business right now.
Yeah, and e-commerce tends to be more direct to consumer type stuff. We're B2B,
Yeah.
so we're selling to doctors, and we are selling software services. That's what we're selling. And they can use whatever hardware to manufacture on site, or they can order from our third parties or whatever, and they have the autonomy to be able to figure out how they buy, whether they want to buy finished product or if they want to buy the design services and fabricate them there. So that gives them a little bit of flexibility there. So yeah, and we don't sell direct to consumer without a prescription, because we don't want patients treating themselves for fracture care. I mean, you have to go through a provider. That's the way that it should be done, so that we make sure that it's not a liability. And that's another reason that there's limited amount of open source versus it's better if you use the system as it's in place, especially here in the US. We just want to make sure that patients are safe and they're getting treated correctly with quality products.
Are you targeting the Canadian market as well? Of course, the big difference is that Canadian market is publicly funded. So rather than, I guess, selling to the doctors, you'll be selling to the government?
Yes, at some point, but the doctors are the ones that bring it into the market. They're the ones that demand that new products are integrated. So we do have ActivArmor Canada. So you can go to activarmor.ca, find our Canadian partners there. You can order it fabricated there in Canada. We do have manufacturers there as well. You can use the app and order it anytime. As far as the billing, you're right. I mean, in some of the other countries that we're in, there is a nationalized healthcare system that's a little bit different in the purchasing process. So in a lot of the cases, we go in as a cash pay product to start. And so patients are opting for it if they choose it, while we get buy-in and acceptance and approvals through the national healthcare system.
So if someone were to purchase this equipment for their fracture care, what is the kind of the price range we're talking about? Is it like a couple $100? Is it $500?
Yeah.
What is the general range for this?
So the printers, you can use whatever printing system you already have. If you don't have one, we have a recommended system, a printer that's here in the US. We like the Fusion 3 Edge printers. Like I said, it printed this one in 2.5 hours. I've had this one now for 5 years. I've been wearing it. You can see it's still perfect, in great shape. And I'm broken it or anything like that. So, I mean, that printer itself is about $7,000. You can find it on, Fusion 3's website if you choose to use that one. But again, you don't have to use that one. You can use any printer, any material that you like. We manufacture ours in ABS because we like the finish, and we know that it's going to be non-porous, so it's not going to trap moisture and bacteria against your skin. It's going to be smooth. It's going to be sanitizable. It's ISO certified for biocompatibility, all of those things. However, we don't oversee the quality control in the clinics other than providing them with training and all of the stuff and the options. And then if a physician, for example, wants to make it in flexible nylon, I mean, they can do that, right? And that's the cool thing about our international partners as well, is they can source their materials there. They can use other things they want. We provide the design services that we know work, and we give them the entire system as it is manufactured here in the US with quality control standards. And then if they choose to do other unique things with it, that's the open source part, right? That they can, use their own vendors, use their own suppliers, use their own machines, and that's integrated into their current system.
What does your team look like right now?
So right now, there's 3 of us full-time employees in the actual administrative level. So there's myself, there's my lead CAD designer, and my lead manufacturer, and the 3 of us work together to manage the system to make sure that the process works. Then we have, like I said, some W-2 sales folks, and then we have 1099 sales contractors, and then we have my advisory board and my advisors, and all of us work together to make sure that the system works.
Awesome. What do you see the future for your business? Do you want to take the existing software system and really maximize the potential in the US market and maybe some other markets? Or do you, I mean, you mentioned you're looking into some other products as well, but do you think about continuing to add kind of new and other prosthetic devices to your, or the designs of other prosthetic devices into your kind of software to have additional options as well?
So we can integrate other products, mostly sports medicine protective gear is where we're looking, and then veterinary, etc. But the market for what we have for immobilization, for fracture care and splinting and diabetics and things like that, that is so huge that it could take lifetimes just to fulfill the needs there. So we are focused on that right now, and strategic partnership and growing the company. And that's where we're focused right now. We can do other product lines, and we are, some of our partners are developing things in parallel on the side. The prosthetics market is not as big. And I feel like it has more market penetration in 3D printing than orthopedics does. So we haven't focused so much there. I doubt that we will as a company. That's kind of for others to do. We are primarily focused on orthopedics and podiatry, wound care, fracture care, and immobilization for chronic conditions like carpal tunnel, etc.
In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. It's an evolution process. Throughout your own journey of building this project, building this business, what has been like some big learnings or failures or mistakes that you consider that you could have done without? What were the lessons that you learned, and what are the lessons that other entrepreneurs can learn from your mistakes?
Yeah, I would say that one mistake is to hold too tightly to your current business model or plan. Definitely always be ready to pivot, but also don't use a shotgun approach. You definitely want to be strategic, because you don't have a limited amount of resources, time, energy, and money. So if you try to shotgun it, even though it seems like, hey, if I shoot at a $24 billion industry and I hit a percentage of that, it won't happen. And if it does happen, you're going to be spreading yourself too thin on that. You need to do a lot of customer research and talk with them directly, find out exactly what they want, and then give it to them. And don't, if I would have gone off and jacked around with prosthetics or veterinary or whatever, we wouldn't be where we are. And I have, there's kind of that ADHD, oh, squirrel, ooh, shiny object, and you got to make sure that you don't do that, that you focus on what your strategy is. And when you ask me about books in a little bit, I'll be talking with you about some of the ways that I was pushed back on target. Whenever I feel, and this happens a lot, but whenever I feel overwhelmed, like I feel like there's too much to do, I realize that I'm not being strategic enough. I need to stop what I'm doing, stop with my head down in the day to day and just trudging forward, but instead to lift up, think, realign, re-strategize, and focus. And that's when you're going to be the most effective. And sometimes that focus will change. And I'll tell you the most heartbreaking thing that I've had during this journey of entrepreneurship is having the staff change in the company, because you outgrow people, and then you can't afford people, and then you need more people, and you don't know who to hire because you only have a certain amount of money and a certain amount of investment. So you don't want to, just scale up too quickly, but you also don't want that to hold you back because, you just can't meet the demand because of your staff. But I can tell you that, like, I've had some of my closest friends help me in this journey, and then we downsized, or we upsized, or we changed, or we pivoted, or we didn't need that position anymore, or the position needed new expertise or whatever. And it was hard for me to make those staffing changes. And that you have to do. You have to bite the bullet, and it hurts you in your soul because you know that this person, helped you in this phase of the business, and then that changes. And when you have to make those staffing changes and see, people that helped you grow the company then have to move on to other things, it like breaks your heart. But it's the evolution of the company, and it's necessary, and it's okay. And they understand how the business works. And, even with COVID, it's like, we had 12 clinics slated to open that year that didn't open. And that required, and then we tried certain things. We tried some, having a different position in actually having an ortho tech on staff. And then we realized, oh, that didn't work on a sales side. Now we have to do it this way. So a lot of stuff had to change. And that's honestly the hardest part, is the staffing and the people and the team, and making sure that team changes with the focus of the company. Yeah,
that's very true. Now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer them maybe in a few words or a sentence or so. Yep. I know you were mentioning that you have some book recommendations. So yeah, if you have a few, please go ahead.
Yep. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, of course. The One Thing by Gary Keller, great for strategic focus. I definitely recommend those. Your brand story as far as marketing is concerned. Just the more books that you can read, the better.
Awesome. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about. I'll add that medical in there also, if you have like anything medical related.
Yep. And I'm going to say what everybody's saying right now, and that's AI. It's going to be a game changer in every way, with improving quality of care, reducing human error, reducing staff and overhead time, improving quality outcomes. And AI is going to change the entire world.
Definitely. A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or productivity tip? I know you were saying you work 20 hours a day. How do you stay productive?
Yeah, I really like the Retail app. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it basically takes books that you want to read, summarizes them into 20 minutes, and feeds it to you audio, or you can read it. But I like to do that when I'm doing work that doesn't require direct focus, or if I'm exercising or something like that. I'll pound through 3 or 4 books that I've been wanting to get through in an hour or two, and I love it. I wish they had more of our business books on that app, but I mean, there's nothing, like I don't have time to sit around and, spend hours flipping through books. And so if I can get out there and get a good workout and also get through, 3 books that I've been really wanting to get the main key points on, fed directly into my brain, it's awesome. Like, and especially in drives when you're traveling and all that, just, I love to have audiobooks, on a flight or whatever. And yeah, sorry, that was a long answer.
No, totally fine. I think those apps are really good also to get kind of, to get a summary of different books. And then one, if one of them kind of really catches your attention, then you can go and read the full book. So it kind of saves your time kind of figuring out which book actually you want to read. A startup or business that you think is currently doing great things?
Sure. So I like, in the medical space, I like Nouveau Air and some of the others that are doing apps that allow for mobile apps that allow you to have patient feedback immediately and give you data so that you can take charge of your own health. So my brother died of cystic fibrosis, and there was a lot of times where he would have to go to the hospital to get respiratory data. And so right now they have, like, Nouveau app is an app at home where you can you get constant data and feedback on where your respiratory health is at, what, if you, oh my gosh, I need this medication, I need to change my medication, I need to, do this or that. That real-time feedback and data to both your doctor on an ongoing basis. So you don't have to be in the hospital to get that kind of medical data ongoing. Seeing the trends, knowing when you're in a red zone, knowing when you're doing better. And so that constant patient feedback and data collection is going to be awesome, not just in respiratory, but all of the new healthcare companies that are doing data collection. That's I think the future.
By the way, is there a way for the user itself, like the person who gets these devices, to provide feedback on what their experience was like after they're healed and they're kind of done with the device, like for a way for you to know if they found it kind of comfortable, if they what their experience was? Are you collecting any kind of that kind of data?
Yeah, sure. And that depends on the physicians. Like, there's a lot that you need on clinical trial basis, you need an IRB for, right? And we don't get HIPAA information. So it's really up to the providers on them providing us that feedback if they choose to or don't choose to. And the patients, of course, will just tell us, right? I mean, you can see from our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, check all of those out and look for ActivArmor, and you will see constant patient feedback. I mean, and it's great. We love it, and we love sharing the testimonials, and we love hearing from them and all of that. And it's funny though, what it comes down to is patients love it because they can shower, swim, bathe, their normal lifestyle activities that they can't do with a traditional cast. And that feedback helps push it to providers as well. So yeah, they can provide feedback directly and through their provider as well.
Do you do any kind of general advertising in the market to get like people to become aware of this thing, so they can go to their doctor and say, hey, when they're kind of injured, give me that kind of cast rather than the more traditional cast?
We do social media, and we do our website, and that we don't do a lot of direct to consumer marketing because the consumers are not the ones making the decisions, the doctors are. So we focus our marketing budget on the fracture care providers. And you can imagine why, like, we have to catch a patient with a new fracture within the first week of care in order for them to even try to influence their doctors, right? So that's a very narrow time at which we have any sort of influence over the consumer, the end consumer. So if we onboard a fracture care provider, though, now he or she is seeing 15, 20 patients a day, right, with that targeted need. So that's where we definitely focus our budget.
A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you?
Yeah, so to me, the people that inspire me the most are the actual providers that are helping the patients that care about their healing outcomes. meet with doctors a lot of times and say, my patients are fine with what I do and I get paid by the hour, I don't, whatever. And there are physicians like that, but when you find the real physicians who care about their patients' quality of life and they want to improve that, I mean, I'll give you an example of Dr. Kevin Kaplan, the team physician for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He called me and said, I would really like to have my players be able to ice bath and heal faster using advanced healing technologies, et cetera. And he really cares about his patients in his clinic too, not just the athletes, but he offers ActivArmor to his other fracture care patients that have to be immobilized. And doctors like that who are innovative, they're forward thinking, they care about their patients' quality of life and their athletes and getting them back to their sports and the things that they love. Those kind of doctors are the ones that inspire me every day. And I love to work with because I can work directly with them and they give us feedback and we can work together to improve the quality of life for their patients.
Final question, best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
I would say, since you have a limited resources, budget, time, everything, make everything, all of your deals, all of your everything contingent and try to make as many costs variable as you can versus fixed costs. So if you get in over your head with a lot of overhead costs, you're going to have to get investment and you're going to be dependent on that. And it's really hard to pivot and it's hard to stay alive when market changes. So if you're making a deal with somebody and they're saying, hey, I can offer you this, this, or this, make it contingent on outcomes. Every single thing, pay for results. And if you can do that, then your startup will be in a better place to maintain through all the ups and downs that you're going to have.
Definitely. Great advice. Well, those were all the questions that I had, Diana. Really inspiring story. Thank you for sharing your entrepreneurial story and for sharing how you are kind of building this business. If anybody wants to check out your website and products, what is the best way to do that?
ActivArmor.com, ActivArmor.com, and check us out at ActivArmor and #ActivArmor on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of them. Check us out there and find us. LinkedIn is a great place to find us. And yeah, ask for us. We're available to any physician anywhere, and you can demand it from your doctor. So, and there are doctors that are already on board that are listed on our website. So just, don't settle for less.
Awesome. Well, Diana, thank you so much again for joining me today at TrepTalks. Really appreciate your time and for sharing your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.